The term super team is something that's been used more frequently in the basketball community in recent years, but that doesn't mean it's a completely new concept, or that super teams themselves are new to the league. Some people think that the era of super teams began when LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh all signed with the Miami Heat in the summer of 2010, but that's simply not true. This wasn't the first super team, but you could argue that it was the first player-orchestrated super team. Never before had three superstar players in the prime of their career all agreed to sign on the same team on the same day. In that sense, this was a historic event, and a big shift into a league where the players hold the most power. Albeit less often, super teams have been talked about and have been a presence in the NBA for many years. The first team to be consistently referred to as a super team was the Lakers in 1968. Heading into the summer of '68, the Lakers already had one of the best tandems in the league with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. But after years and years of disappointment and of falling short at the hand of the Celtics, Lakers management shook the basketball world when they traded for the most dominant player to ever play, Wilt Chamberlain. The hype around this team was tremendous, and although it would take some time, and although Baylor had injuries that didn't allow him to finish the run, this team, in a sense, did eventually go on to win the championship. So this raises the question. With the recent emergence of another NBA super team, it's got me wondering, how often do super teams go on to win the championship? Well, to answer that, we first need to establish what makes a super team, because to be honest, there is no clear and agreed upon definition of what a super team actually is. This is how I define it, and if you disagree with me, I respect that, and let me know how you define it in the comments section. But to me, a super team is a team that has at least three legitimate superstars who are each capable of being the best player of their own team. Some players are great at doing what they do, but they operate more like specialists and not necessarily like a franchise-leading superstar does. Sure, they're all-time great players, but could you really see them leading a franchise as the team's best player? If you can't, then that's a scenario where that player wouldn't be recognized as one of the three superstars required to make a super team. So, based on my definition of what constitutes a super team, there have been about 11 super teams in NBA history. You could argue that there should be more or less, but these are the teams that I narrowed it down to. The 1960s Celtics with various combinations of Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Sam Jones, Bill Sharman, Tommy Heinsohn, John Havlicek, Bailey Howell, and so on. In case you didn't know, you do now. The 60s Celtics were absolutely stacked. The second team is the late 60s Lakers with Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain. Then the mid-80s Lakers with Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and James Worthy. The mid-80s Celtics with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish. The next one is probably the most debatable considering how they were all approaching their mid-30s, but they were all still very elite contributors. It's the 1997 Rockets, led by Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, and Clyde Drexler. Next is the 2004 Lakers, led by Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Gary Payton, and Karl Malone. The 2008 Celtics with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. The early 2010s Miami Heat with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. The 2016 Cavaliers with LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. The 2017 Warriors with Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson. And lastly is of course the 2021 Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Now some argue that some of these guys were not legitimate superstars, like Chris Bosh and Kevin Love, but I disagree. If you look at when they joined the team, they were among the best players in the NBA from a production standpoint. But the reality is that when three superstars are on one squad, one of the three players gets his role diminished. This was true of Chris Bosh in 2011, Kevin Love in 2015, and Ray Allen in 2008. This is just a theme of three stars uniting and then having to share the same offense. So with their list of 10 completed teams, how many of them went on to win a championship? 8 out of 10. The only teams that didn't win after assembling their super team was the 2004 Lakers and the late 90s Rockets. One of those teams was plagued by injuries and had a circus full of drama, while the other was simply the case of the stars being pretty old. In every other instance where this definition of a super team was made, they went on to win at least one championship. Superstar talent reigns supreme in the NBA, and if you simply acquire at least 3 superstars on the same roster, you are far more likely to succeed than not. So what does this mean exactly? Pressure is on, Brooklyn. If a healthy team of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving don't win at least one championship, then it will go down as one of the greatest disappointments of basketball history and leave a lasting stain on each of these stars' legacies. Let me know in the comments section if you prefer your NBA with or without super teams. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.